saying that Anna is our facilitator coming up next and right now.
Good morning again. I'm really pleased to chair this session, and I would like Richard to join me on the stage for his presentation, One Ocean, One Future exhibition, our future exhibition. Richard, that is well known, I believe, is Chief Experience Officer at the Australian National Maritime Museum. Previously, he held senior position in the maritime museum sector in Hong Kong, Norfolk Island, and Port Arthur in Tasmania. He has a strong commitment to encouraging audience engagement with global maritime issues and a personal passion for maritime archaeology. Please welcome, Richard. I don't want to take your paper.
Thank you, Anna. I feel very much like a journeyman in comparison to our earlier speakers, but journeymen have their place. This is a little bit of detail for aficionados of putting exhibits together. This image is part of the branding of the Australian National Maritime Museum, and I was told that this is how whales sleep. So I don't know whether I was just told that by the staff, but if anyone can put some light on that, I'd be most grateful. What I'm talking about is an exhibition called One Ocean, Our Future, which is a temporary exhibition that seeks to explain the relationship between the health of the world's oceans and climate change. Like many maritime museums globally, the ICMM is transitioning to a more proactive position in communicating ocean health issues associated with a changing climate to an increasingly alarmed and aware visiting public. Whilst maritime museums have always been concerned about marine science, the traditional preoccupation for many has been those who go down to the sea in ships, the vessels themselves, and the nature of marine-based global commerce, both past and present. The Australian National Maritime Museum has been no exception in this paradigm shift in an emphasis that's been combined with a long-term engagement with First Nation maritime traditions and a utilisation of the ocean's bounty. And interestingly, ocean science and First Nation traditions has generated and is supported by a strong interest among overseas visitors to Australia, and I'm sure we all are aware of that. People are interested in experiences, philosophy, environmental realities, the response of Indigenous people to living in the world's largest, driest and oldest continent for the last 60,000 years. In terms of this exhibition and where it was coming from, if you recall, there was the declaration of the United Nations Decade of Ocean Sciences for Sustainable Development in 2021, which represented an acknowledgement of global scientific thinking and the public realisation that responding effectively to the decline of the world's ocean, in part due to human-induced climate change, was of central importance to all of us. The decision to develop this exhibition brought together a confluence of events. The museum's management wanting to respond to the UN declaration, an internal need to strengthen the responsibilities of the Marine Science Unit, and to build upon existing scientific partnerships. And in Australia's case, the CSIRO is a major player. Commercially, the ambition was to generate $1 million in revenue on a worst case scenario. Now, if I just move that, now what should happen is I've pushed this, there'll be a little 30-second video which will wake you all up. Let's see how that goes.
Our ocean is an amazing place, but we're only just starting to really understand how the ocean is now changing. Meet the oceanographers who have studied our ocean over the past 150 years. Discover the inventions that are unlocking secrets from the deep, and learn about the science being implemented to keep our ocean healthy. One Ocean, Our Future. Exhibition on now at the National Maritime Museum, Sydney.
We've all seen what marketing departments do, and that's what ours does. The vision of the exhibition was to present to the public an understanding of the ocean as a mesmerising, mysterious and relatively unexplored place that was nevertheless essential to the existence of life on Earth. And obviously it affects, atmosphere, food supply, culture, society and biodiversity. What the staff wanted to do was to create a rich and immersive exhibition that explores the wonders of the ocean and to encourage the public to ask a series of questions such as, how do we know it's changing? What can we do about it? How can we make a difference? What will the future be? What is the science and technology that's involved? But we are in the business of attracting audiences, and I think we all know the expression worthy but dull. And we also know the perils of lecturing to people. And one of the messages I got from the museum developing this exhibition is that it's important to be worthy, but we also have to engage. And we don't necessarily want to frighten the children. Before proceeding with the Australian National Maritime Museum's the project, it was concept tested against a number of other possible initiatives, and the subject came out fairly well. It was rated second overall as a motivator to come to the museum, and it was third in a series of 10 possible themes. So there is a public taste and need for such exhibits. In terms of market segmentation, it performed very highly with millennial and Generation Z age groups, and lowest with the older age groups. So, probably a lot of the people in this audience, in terms of age, they weren't necessarily inclined to come and see an exhibition about the fate of the oceans. So I think that's a challenge for us all. The front-end evaluation of visitor responses also identified a challenge to humanise the subject of the exhibitions and to make it relevant to visitors, less interested in it. So it's the people who are not interested that we should be worried about. People who are not interested in marine science, and to avoid One Ocean, Our Future becoming overtly a message exhibition that preaches to the believers and alienates the doubters. And again, in political discourse, we're all familiar with its challenge. To bring these aspirations together, the exhibition design team worked through a potentially overwhelming series of data points, messages and content by focusing on 7 themes or questions or objectives. And one of them was very simple, was the whole question of kind of wonder. To appreciate what there is to lose. And the mechanism for delivery was really a large-scale 4K movie projection on recent discoveries from the RV Faulkner's 2020 expedition. And this, as we previously noted, is the vessel managed by the Schmidt Institute, who were a sponsor. And in exposing some of these discoveries, amazing corals that had never been seen before, seahorses, walking fish, all these items that just emphasise the sheer scale, beauty of the of the ocean's unknown areas, and they were being revealed by science and technology. So that was kind of hook number one, which was wonder. Hook number two is kind of looking at the evidence. So what's happening and how it's all connected. And we used the idea of holographic style presentations of some of the extraordinary specimens discovered in this expedition, and juxtaposed it against the data, and looked at evidence of unsustainable ocean practices such as microplastics, overfishing, in the continual release of phosphates and other chemicals associated with modern farming practices. So we're providing evidence, data, trying to show the links. There was also a need to provide statistics which showed the deteriorating situation and the rate of change. And we utilised large graphics that distributed through the exhibition, which was seen as a mechanism that could interpret hard and socio-cultural data sets about the oceans and the impact of change, acidification, temperature, shifting currents, ice melt, pollution indexes, and so on. We also felt it was important for people to act as witnesses. So what was created was a series, an endless soundtrack of spoken word as a background to the exhibition, in original languages, from specially created recordings of experiences, observations, events, recollections of people across the ocean and around the globe, recalling the impact of ocean change. So as you can appreciate, there's nothing more powerful than listening to someone who has had living experience. By the way, these items in the foreground were created by a series of artists from the South Pacific, and they're basically different totems created from recycled plastic that was found in their locations. The most amazing and beautiful items. And this leads on to another segue into how we're trying to connect with the visitors, and that was to explore the philosophy and the beliefs of First Nation people on the value of living sustainably and protecting the environment. So we brought together objects, works of art, phrases and stories that represent the knowledge, experience and philosophies of First Peoples about oceans and the impact of climate change. And we tried to integrate this information and approach right through the exhibit. We also wanted to utilise history and the history of science and technology. Obviously we've had over a couple of centuries of ocean science, so we've used various technologies that have changed to measure, explore, analyse, map the ocean, ranging from samples collected from HMS Challenger to a 1,000-year-old Australian Antarctic Division ice core, calibrated to reveal the Earth's history. As an aside, that was the most challenging part of the exhibition, to keep this ice core from melting. And if you look at it closely, I think by the end of the exhibit, despite our best endeavours, there won't be much left. But apparently there's plenty more ice cores where it came from. So looking at technology and history in our collections, again, it's humanity has been for a couple of centuries trying to understand more about the ocean. It's just that in more recent times things have speeded up. The last way of looking at the exhibit was to provide real-time or pseudo-real-time access to footage by researchers on various research vessels. And so what you're trying to do is to encourage the visitor to vicariously experience the excitement, the confusion, and reveal the expertise of marine biologists, and try and demystify scientific endeavours and encourage visitors to think about the future of our oceans. The exhibit was developed at the height of COVID and cost $350,000 and occupied about 350 square metres, so not overly ambitious but significant. Opened in December and will be running to October. Visitation has been modest because of the COVID issue, but has improved as crowds returned and the public resumed museum going. But we obviously, in the Australian context at least, we didn't get many overseas visitors. The reaction, we did a recent survey, and the reaction has been interesting. There's 23% endorsed its educational content. What they believed, some of them believed what they saw and what we were providing. There was 11% overall positive rating and 10% support for interactivity. Now, what this really, the point I'm trying to, by quoting these statistics, is to say that the initial evaluation in the area of exhibition-based science communication is that such exhibitions will not automatically generate audience numbers, but there needs to be part of a wider exhibition public program, curators' talks, webs-based digital presentations, school activities. We know all these things, but it's been very interesting to step into this area, do it in a reasonably comprehensive way, to be as engaging as we could, and yet we are telling a story which is quite concerning and confronting, and not everybody wants to experience that on a Sunday afternoon. So we're incorporating these ideas in our planning, and we're undaunted, and we hope to develop a permanent exhibition. And these are some of the images, different parts of the exhibit. And there's a picture of the ice core. And as you can see, it's still a fair bit left. And a little bit on the evaluation and the cloud, what people are talking about, so interaction, information, microscopes, a little bit about climate change, so people were getting some of the message. And I'll leave it as a wonderful quote from Dr. Sylvia Earle. So thank you for the opportunity to share our experience with One Ocean, Our Future. Thank you.
Maybe we can keep all the questions together at the end of the session, or if there are any questions for Richard, or otherwise we can continue with Dan Finamore. This morning and yesterday we saw some theory about what we need to do, and